Throughout my journey on this earth, observing the intricate dance of human interactions, I've arrived at a profound realization: intelligence transcends mere accumulated knowledge. It's woven into the very fabric of our existence, expressed through our actions, our treatment of others, and our capacity to learn from the inevitable stumbles along the way. But here's the rub, the insightful twist that has consistently captured my attention: there are certain undeniable signs, 6 to be precise, that betray a lack of wisdom, a deficiency in the art of navigating life with grace and understanding. Now, before you dismiss this as mere judgmental categorization or indulge in a self-satisfied chuckle, allow me to emphasize why identifying these traits is of paramount importance. It's not about casting stones or engaging in a condescending assessment of others. Rather, it's about embarking on a journey of self-reflection, fostering personal growth, and, yes, consciously avoiding these pitfalls in our own lives. It's also about extending a helping hand to those who may be unwittingly trapped in cycles of foolishness, offering gentle guidance and fostering a path towards greater awareness. So, I invite you to join me on this expedition of discovery. Together, we'll dissect these 6 unmistakable signs of a person lacking in wisdom, each carrying a valuable lesson, a compelling story, and a mirror in which to examine our own tendencies. Because the path to wisdom, that lifelong pursuit of understanding and enlightenment, invariably begins with a critical self-awareness, a willingness to confront our own shortcomings and strive for continuous improvement. Are you ready to walk this road with me, to embrace the challenge of self-examination and cultivate a more profound understanding of ourselves and the world around us? Let's begin with the understanding that this isn't about superiority, but about shared growth. This is about creating a community dedicated to cultivating wisdom, to embracing humility, and to supporting one another on the journey towards becoming better versions of ourselves. Because ultimately, the world needs more wise individuals, people who are capable of navigating complexity, fostering empathy, and making decisions that benefit not just themselves, but the greater good. And that journey starts right here, right now, with a willingness to confront our own potential for foolishness and embrace the opportunity for growth. Segment 1: The Fortress of Fixed Ideas. The first sign, perhaps the most fundamental and limiting of all, is a closed mind. A closed mind is nothing less than a fortress of ignorance, painstakingly constructed brick by brick with the mortar of fear, the stones of pride, and the ramparts of stubbornness. Individuals afflicted by this condition not only rigidly reject new ideas and perspectives but also inadvertently block their own paths to growth, innovation, and a deeper understanding of the world. They dwell within a self-imposed rigid box, where every concept, every action, and every relationship must operate according to their familiar, often outdated, rules. Anything that deviates from this narrow worldview is immediately perceived as a threat, an intrusion upon their carefully constructed reality. Their confidence, often expressed as an unwavering certainty, frequently serves as a thin facade, masking a deeper insecurity in a fear of confronting the unknown. Because true confidence, the kind that emanates from genuine wisdom, stems from the profound understanding that one can never know everything, that the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong endeavor, and that embracing uncertainty is essential for growth. Let me illustrate this with a compelling example from my own professional experience. I once worked at a company where Mark, a department manager with decades of experience, was adamantly convinced that the old ways of working were inherently superior, despite mounting evidence to the contrary. His team was consistently falling behind competitors in terms of efficiency, innovation, and overall performance. When a younger, more tech-savvy employee, eager to contribute and improve the team's performance, suggested implementing modern project management software to streamline workflows and enhance collaboration, Mark dismissed the idea outright, his voice laced with condescension. "We've done it this way for 10 years, he declared with unwavering certainty, and it's worked just fine. As a direct consequence of Mark's closed-mindedness and resistance to change, while other teams within the company made significant strides in productivity and innovation, Mark's team continued to struggle, burdened by outdated processes, inefficient workflows, and a declining overall performance. Instead of acknowledging the inherent flaws in his own entrenched mindset, instead of embracing the opportunity to learn from a fresh perspective, Mark resorted to blaming external factors, his staff's perceived incompetence, the increasingly competitive market, and even plain bad luck. He refused to accept that his own resistance to change was the primary obstacle to his team's success. This anecdote highlights a critical point: a closed mind doesn't merely obstruct the acquisition of new knowledge, it actively damages the growth and potential of everyone in its sphere of influence. It creates a stifling environment where innovation is stifled, creativity is suppressed, and individuals are discouraged from challenging the status quo. Wise individuals, on the other hand, possess a profound humility and are never afraid to admit that they don't know everything. They approach every situation with a sense of curiosity, a willingness to learn from others, and an open mind to new ideas, regardless of their source. They understand that true intelligence lies not in possessing all the answers, but in asking the right questions. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on reason, virtue, and acceptance, reminds us that wisdom isn't about always being right or clinging to preconceived notions, but about cultivating the ability to adapt, to learn from our experiences, and to continuously improve ourselves and our understanding of the world. It's about embracing the unknown, acknowledging our limitations, and striving for continuous growth. If you recognize this tendency towards a closed mind in yourself, or if you observe it in someone you work with, it's crucial to take proactive steps to break down those walls of resistance and foster a more open and receptive environment. Remember that embracing innovation, encouraging diverse perspectives, and fostering a culture of continuous learning not only fosters personal growth but also creates a more productive, collaborative, and ultimately successful work environment. Be brave enough to say, "I was wrong," and genuinely commit to learning from your mistakes. Embrace the power of "I don't know," and approach new ideas with curiosity rather than skepticism. Only when the walls of stubbornness crumble, when we relinquish the need to be right and embrace the potential for growth, can true wisdom take root and flourish. This is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your strength, your intellectual honesty, and your commitment to continuous improvement. It's about embracing the uncomfortable, challenging your assumptions, and constantly seeking to expand your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Segment 2, The Blame Game Champion. The second unmistakable sign of a person lacking in wisdom is their tendency towards constant blaming. These individuals are often masters of crafting elaborate excuses, skillfully deflecting responsibility for their actions and attributing their failures to external forces beyond their control. For them, nothing is ever truly their fault. A project fails. The market was simply too tough, the economic conditions were unfavorable, or some unforeseen circumstance sabotaged their efforts. A promotion is missed. The boss was biased, the selection process was unfair, or some other candidate inexplicably received preferential treatment. But deep down, beneath the carefully constructed layers of justifications and rationalizations, we all know that blaming is, at its core, a defensive shield, a protective mechanism designed to avoid the uncomfortable task of confronting the truth about our own shortcomings. However, that same shield, initially intended to protect us from perceived harm, ultimately becomes a gilded prison, holding us back from any real growth, hindering our progress, and preventing us from achieving our full potential. Take, for example, Lisa, an event organizer I once worked with. She was entrusted with the critical responsibility of planning a major industry conference, a high-stakes event that could significantly impact the company's reputation and future prospects. Unfortunately, the event flopped, plagued by poor attendance, lackluster engagement, and a general sense of disappointment among attendees. Lisa, rather than accepting responsibility for her role in the failure, immediately blamed the marketing team for not promoting the event effectively enough, claiming that their lack of outreach was the sole reason for the poor turnout. However, upon closer investigation, it became abundantly clear that Lisa herself had failed to provide the marketing team with the necessary event details and promotional materials on time, significantly delaying the entire marketing campaign and effectively sabotaging their efforts. Even then, confronted with irrefutable evidence of her own negligence, she continued to point fingers, stubbornly refusing to accept her own role in the failure and shifting the blame onto others. The result of this pattern of blaming was devastating. Her colleagues, initially sympathetic, gradually lost trust in her judgment, her competence, and her overall reliability. Her reputation suffered irreparable damage, and she was eventually asked to step down from her position, a direct consequence of her inability to take responsibility for her actions. Responsibility, though often perceived as a heavy burden, is actually the gateway to growth, the key to unlocking our potential, and the foundation upon which we build our character. Wise individuals, in contrast to those who constantly blame, readily admit their mistakes, not because they enjoy criticism or seek to punish themselves, but because they understand that truth, however uncomfortable, brings invaluable opportunities to learn, to improve, and to ultimately become better versions of themselves. They recognize that taking ownership of their actions, both successes and failures, is essential for personal growth and for building strong, trusting relationships. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on personal accountability and self-mastery, reminds us that mastering life, navigating its inevitable challenges, and achieving true fulfillment begins with mastering responsibility. It's about accepting that we are the authors of our own lives, that our choices shape our destinies, and that we have the power to control our responses to the events that unfold around us. If you notice yourself falling into a pattern of blaming others, if you find yourself consistently deflecting responsibility for your actions, pause and ask yourself a series of critical questions. Have I truly done everything I could to ensure a positive outcome? Is there something I could have done differently, a different approach I could have taken, or a different skill I could have developed? Blaming others won't change the outcome, it won't undo the mistakes of the past. But taking responsibility, learning from your experiences, and committing to doing better in the future will fundamentally change you, shaping you into a more resilient, capable, and ultimately wiser individual. Wise individuals don't shy away from their mistakes, they embrace them as valuable learning opportunities, using them as stepping stones on the path to continuous growth. They learn, they adapt, they grow, and they move forward, armed with newfound knowledge and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. And you can too. Choose the path of truth, choose the path of responsibility, choose the path of continuous improvement, and choose the path of greatness. Segment 3, The Arrogance Amplifier. Arrogance, a trait often mistaken for confidence, is the third telltale sign of someone lacking in wisdom. Have you ever encountered someone who constantly feels the need to assert their intellectual superiority, to prove that they're the smartest person in the room, regardless of the context or the audience? That's a classic manifestation of arrogance, a self-aggrandizing behavior that ultimately undermines genuine connection and hinders personal growth. Arrogance isn't merely a superficial mask for insecurity, it's a formidable barrier to acquiring wisdom, a self-imposed obstacle that prevents individuals from learning, growing, and truly understanding the world around them. Truly intelligent individuals, those who possess genuine wisdom, know how to listen far more than they speak, recognizing that learning is a lifelong process, a continuous unfolding of knowledge and understanding that never truly reaches an endpoint. They approach every interaction with a sense of humility, eager to learn from others, and open to the possibility that they may not have all the answers. They understand that true intelligence lies not in showcasing their own knowledge but in fostering meaningful connections, facilitating collaborative learning, and empowering others to reach their full potential. Let's consider Michael, a manager at a large corporation, as a prime example of this destructive trait. In every meeting, regardless of the topic or the expertise of the other participants, Michael would relentlessly dominate the conversations, interrupting his colleagues, dismissing their ideas with condescending remarks, and even mocking their suggestions in an attempt to assert his intellectual dominance. His behavior created a stifling atmosphere, discouraging open communication, and fostering a sense of resentment among his team members. Once, when the company faced a particularly challenging project that ultimately resulted in a significant failure, Michael, rather than accepting responsibility for his role in the debacle, blamed his team for not understanding his brilliant ideas, conveniently overlooking the fact that his arrogance and his refusal to listen to the valuable insights of his colleagues had directly contributed to the project's downfall. When his boss, seeking to foster self-reflection and accountability, asked him to honestly reflect on his contribution to the failed project, Michael was unable to offer a single valid reason for the failure, blinded by his own arrogance and unable to recognize any opportunity for personal improvement. Humility, on the other hand, is not about thinking less of yourself or diminishing your accomplishments, it's about thinking of yourself less, shifting the focus from your own ego to the needs and perspectives of others. It prioritizes collaborative learning, genuine connection, and empowering others over the need for self-aggrandizement and the constant validation of one's own intelligence. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on self-awareness and the pursuit of virtue, reminds us that wisdom can only be attained when we open ourselves to new perspectives, when we are brave enough to acknowledge our own shortcomings, and when we are genuinely ready to learn from our mistakes. It's about relinquishing the need to be right, embracing the power of, I don't know, and approaching every interaction with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn. If you ever find yourself caught in the trap of arrogance, if you recognize that you're consistently dominating conversations, dismissing the ideas of others, and prioritizing your own perspective over the insights of those around you, pause and ask yourself a fundamental question: am I truly seeking genuine understanding and collaborative growth, or am I simply seeking recognition and validation for my own ego? Wisdom doesn't lie in making others feel small, in belittling their contributions, or in asserting your own intellectual superiority. It lies in empowering them to feel valued, respected, and capable of contributing their unique talents to the collective good. The truly wise allow humility to guide them, recognizing that real intelligence emerges when the noise of arrogance quiets down, when we are able to listen with an open heart and an open mind, and when we are committed to fostering an environment of mutual respect and collaborative learning. And you can choose to be that wise person. You can choose to relinquish the need to be right, embrace the power of humility, and cultivate a more meaningful and impactful presence in the world. Segment 4, The Empathy Evader. A lack of empathy, the inability to understand and share the feelings of another, is one of the clearest indicators of a person lacking in wisdom. It reflects a fundamental inability to step into someone else's shoes, to comprehend their emotional state, to grasp the nuances of their experiences, or to truly understand what they're going through. Without empathy, individuals live in a state of emotional isolation, disconnected from meaningful relationships, and often inflict harm on others without even realizing the devastating impact of their actions. This absence of empathy doesn't just negatively impact interpersonal relationships, it diminishes the depth of one's character, hindering their capacity for compassion, understanding, and genuine connection. Let me share a poignant example from my own professional life to illustrate this point. I once had a colleague named Paul, a highly driven and ambitious individual who was laser-focused on achieving his goals, often at the expense of others. Paul had a consistent habit of complaining about project delays, constantly criticizing his colleagues for their perceived inefficiencies, without ever attempting to understand the reasons behind the delays or to offer any support or assistance. On one particularly memorable occasion, a coworker named Susan missed a critical deadline on a major project because her son was seriously ill and required her full attention and care. Instead of offering sympathy, understanding, or any form of support, Paul publicly criticized her in front of the entire team, berating her for her lack of professionalism and for jeopardizing the project's success. He displayed a complete disregard for Susan's personal circumstances, focusing solely on the results he expected and demonstrating a profound lack of empathy. A year later, life delivered a harsh lesson to Paul. He found himself in a similar situation, struggling to balance the demands of his work with the overwhelming responsibilities of caring for his ailing mother. Only then, experiencing the stress, the emotional turmoil, and the constant pressure firsthand, did he finally realize the devastating impact of his thoughtless criticisms and the profound hurt he had inflicted on others. He learned, through painful experience, the importance of empathy, of understanding the unique challenges that each individual faces, and of offering support and compassion rather than judgment and condemnation. A lack of empathy doesn't just make someone appear cold, insensitive, and uncaring, it blinds them to invaluable opportunities for learning, for growth, and for building meaningful relationships. It prevents them from connecting with others on a deep and authentic level, hindering their ability to understand diverse perspectives, to appreciate the complexities of human experience, and to navigate the world with grace and compassion. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on virtue, reason, and the common good, teaches us that true wisdom doesn't stem from possessing vast amounts of knowledge or achieving personal success, it stems from connecting with others on a deep, meaningful level, from cultivating empathy, and from striving to understand and support the well-being of all. Those who lack empathy not only fail to enrich their own spiritual lives but also isolate themselves, creating a lasting impression of insensitivity, arrogance, and a general disregard for the feelings of others. Remember, empathy is not a weakness, it is a strength. It is the bridge that connects us to one another, the foundation upon which we build strong, lasting relationships, and the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. When you pause to truly listen to someone else, to understand their perspective, and to share in their feelings, you not only help them navigate their challenges but also gain invaluable lessons for yourself, expanding your own understanding of the human condition and cultivating a more compassionate and fulfilling life. An empathetic heart enriches your world, enabling you to navigate life's complexities with grace, understanding, and a profound sense of connection to humanity. If you find yourself lacking empathy at times, if you struggle to understand the perspectives of others or to connect with their emotions, start by consciously practicing active listening, suspending your judgment, and focusing on truly understanding what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. It's the first step towards opening your heart and mind, guiding you closer to genuine wisdom and fostering more meaningful connections with those around you. Segment 5, The Comfort Zone Inmate. The fifth sign is a paralyzing fear of change. The comfort zone, with its familiar routines and predictable outcomes, undoubtedly feels cozy and secure. However, it can also become a prison, limiting our growth, stifling our creativity, and preventing us from realizing our full potential. Those who harbor a deep-seated fear of change cling to old habits, outdated processes, and familiar surroundings, even when those habits have outlived their usefulness and are actively hindering their progress. They're akin to children afraid of the dark, hesitant to step outside the familiar and explore the vast unknown. But my friends, life is not a static entity, it is a dynamic river, constantly flowing, bending, and transforming. The wise learn to adapt to the ever-changing currents, to embrace the inevitable uncertainties, and to navigate the twists and turns with resilience and grace. The foolish, on the other hand, cling desperately to the banks, trying to hold water in their hands, only to watch it slip through their fingers, becoming increasingly frustrated and disillusioned as the world around them continues to evolve. Take Michael, for instance, a man who spent his entire life in the same small neighborhood, surrounded by the same familiar faces and accustomed to the same predictable routines. He knew every corner, every shop, every resident in the community, and he took immense comfort in this sense of familiarity. When his grown children, seeking better opportunities for themselves and their families, encouraged him to move to a new area with more job prospects, better schools, and a higher quality of life, Michael vehemently refused. "I know everyone here," he declared with unwavering certainty. "Why should I go somewhere else where I don't know anyone and I'm not familiar with anything?" But as time passed, the neighborhood that Michael had clung to so dearly began to change. Old friends moved away, seeking better opportunities elsewhere. Familiar shops closed down, replaced by unfamiliar businesses. The sense of community that he had once cherished gradually eroded, leaving him feeling increasingly isolated and out of touch. Michael eventually realized, albeit reluctantly, that even though he had resisted change with all his might, the world around him was still moving forward, leaving him behind. Eventually, he decided, after much hesitation and trepidation, to move closer to his children, finally embracing the change he had so long resisted. Only then did he discover that the new environment, initially so daunting and unfamiliar, not only brought him a renewed sense of comfort and belonging but also opened up a wealth of opportunities he had never imagined, enriching his life in ways he could never have anticipated. The fear of change doesn't just keep us trapped in the safe zone, it also prevents us from exploring greater possibilities, from embracing new experiences, and from expanding our horizons. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on acceptance and adaptation, teaches us that change is inevitable, an intrinsic part of the human experience, and that only by embracing it with an open heart and a resilient spirit can we truly live a full, meaningful, and authentic life. If you find yourself consistently avoiding change, if you recognize a pattern of clinging to the familiar and resisting the unknown, ask yourself a series of critical questions. What's the worst that could happen if I embrace this change? And conversely, what's the best that could happen if I step outside my comfort zone and embrace the uncertainty? Life doesn't stand still, it's a constant flux, a continuous unfolding of new experiences and opportunities. If you don't learn to go with the flow, to adapt to the changing currents, and to embrace the inevitable uncertainties, you'll be left behind, clinging to outdated habits and unfulfilled potential. Remember, change is not something to be feared, it's a catalyst for growth, a gateway to new experiences, and a pathway to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Embrace it, adapt to it, and allow it to transform you into a stronger, more resilient, and ultimately wiser individual. Because resisting it only keeps you stagnant, trapped in a cycle of fear and unfulfilled potential. Segment 6, The Conversational Monopolizer. The sixth and final sign we'll explore today is the tendency to talk more than you listen. Have you ever encountered a family member, a friend, or a colleague who consistently insists that they know everything, who dominates every conversation, who interrupts constantly, and who rarely takes the time to genuinely listen to others? This is a clear sign of someone who prioritizes their own voice over the perspectives of others, a hallmark of a person lacking in wisdom. They love the sound of their own voice, often disregarding or dismissing the insights of others, which not only creates tension and undermines collaboration but also damages relationships, hindering meaningful connection and fostering resentment. Let me share a story about John, a father I once knew, to illustrate the destructive impact of this behavior. Every evening at dinner, a time that should have been dedicated to family connection and open communication, John would consistently monopolize the conversation, recounting his own accomplishments, sharing his own opinions, and generally dominating the discussion. His children, eager to share their experiences from school, their triumphs and their challenges, their hopes and their fears, would attempt to contribute to the conversation, but John frequently interrupted them, dismissing their thoughts as unimportant or irrelevant, eager to steer the conversation back to his own great stories and his own self-proclaimed wisdom. When his wife, concerned about the family's financial situation and eager to find ways to improve their stability, suggested some potential changes to their budget and spending habits, John dismissed her ideas outright, insisting that his way of managing finances was the only correct way, ignoring her valuable insights and undermining her contributions to the family's well-being. The tragic part was that John didn't realize how much his behavior was making his family feel unheard, unvalued, and disrespected. His lack of listening, his inability to truly connect with his wife and children on a meaningful level, created a significant rift within the family, leaving everyone feeling overlooked, dismissed, and emotionally disconnected. Listening is not a passive activity, it's an active skill that requires genuine attention, focused effort, and a profound respect for the perspectives of others. It's about suspending your own judgment, setting aside your own agenda, and making a conscious effort to understand the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of the person you're listening to. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on self-awareness and the pursuit of wisdom, reminds us that listening is the pathway to learning, the key to understanding, and the foundation upon which we build meaningful connections. It is in silence, in the quiet contemplation of the words and experiences of others, that we find deep understanding and unlock the secrets of wisdom. Conversely, talking without listening is like sowing seeds in barren soil, nothing will ever grow. Without the fertile ground of genuine understanding, the seeds of communication will simply wither and die, failing to take root and produce meaningful connection. If you see yourself in John's story, if you recognize a tendency to dominate conversations, interrupt others, and prioritize your own voice over the perspectives of those around you, now is the time to change. Next time your child shares about their day, next time your spouse offers their thoughts and suggestions, pause, take a deep breath, and truly listen. Don't just wait for your turn to talk, don't formulate your response while the other person is speaking, and don't interrupt with your own thoughts and opinions. Instead, focus on understanding their perspective, acknowledging their feelings, and validating their experiences. By doing so, you'll not only improve your relationships but also create an environment of love, mutual respect, and genuine connection. Remember, the wise person listens, the foolish one only talks. So, there you have it, 6 unmistakable signs of a person lacking in wisdom. But before you click away, feeling a sense of judgment or perhaps even a pang of self-doubt, and start wondering, am I stupid? Hold on for just a second. The truth is that all of us, at some point in our lives, have exhibited one or more of these signs. Maybe we've been arrogant, allowing our ego to get the best of us. Maybe we've clung too tightly to our comfort zones, resisting change and limiting our potential. Or, let's be real, maybe we've talked too much without really listening, prioritizing our own voice over the perspectives of others. The key takeaway here, the most important message I want you to embrace, is that recognizing these signs isn't about criticism, self-deprecation, or judging others. It's about identifying opportunities for personal growth and continuous improvement. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on self-awareness and the pursuit of virtue, teaches us that wisdom doesn't come from always being right, from never making mistakes, or from possessing all the answers. It comes from continually learning from our experiences, admitting our mistakes with humility, and being willing to grow, adapt, and evolve into better versions of ourselves. Each perceived stupid trait is actually a golden opportunity, a hidden potential waiting to be unlocked and transformed into a source of strength and wisdom. So, if you find yourself resonating with one or more of these traits, take it not as a condemnation but as an invitation to evolve, to step outside your comfort zone, to listen more attentively, to blame less readily, and to embrace change with a sense of curiosity and resilience. This journey towards wisdom, this continuous pursuit of self-improvement, isn't reserved for the perfect, the flawless, or the enlightened. It's for the brave, the courageous, the ones who can look at themselves with honesty and say, I can do better. It's for those who are willing to confront their own shortcomings, to embrace the uncomfortable, and to commit to a lifelong journey of learning and growth. Remember, stupidity, in its various forms, is temporary, a fleeting state that can be overcome with conscious effort and a commitment to self-improvement. But wisdom is a journey, a lifelong pursuit, a continuous unfolding of knowledge, understanding, and compassion. And on that journey, you're not alone. We're all striving to become better versions of ourselves, to cultivate greater wisdom, and to make a positive impact on the world around us. Keep growing, keep learning, keep listening, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue exploring these meaningful lessons together, supporting one another on the path towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Thank you for watching, for investing your time and energy in this pursuit of wisdom, and for being a part of this growing community dedicated to self-improvement and personal growth.